Hi everybody, welcome to this B1 English listening practice video. You can use this video to practice your listening and comprehension as I speak. Before we start, remember to subscribe to the channel, click on the bell, and follow us on Instagram. You ready? So today, I'm going to talk about tipping. This is a great topic to discuss with people from different countries because each country has its own attitudes and customs when it comes to this subject. So first of all, what is tipping? Tipping is when you give a little bit of extra money to a person who does some service for you. This money isn't included in the official cost of the service. It's money that you give on top of that. So, who do we give tips to? And who do we calculate the correct sum of money to give? Well, that depends 100% on where you live. I'm going to focus mainly on tipping in America, since that's the country that I'm from. Tipping in America is often a stressful project for foreigners or visiting this country. This reason for that is that the US has a tipping culture that's unparalleled anywhere else. No other country treats this subject the way that America does. Let's talk about restaurants in the US, which is the primary place where people tip. In the past, like when I was a kid, it was standard practice to leave 50% gratuity. Gratuity, by the way, is a fancy word for tip. So for most people, leave 50% gratuity when they ate at a normal restaurant. If the servant is exceptional, then maybe you give a little more, but the service was normal, then 15% was the standard. Now, fast forward to today, and 15% is barely even acceptable at many places. Sometimes, when you have paid by a card in certain establishments, you have to use a touch screen to choose the amount you want to tip and then sign it. Well, sometimes this screen doesn't even give you the initial option to tip 15%. I'll say 80%, 20%, and 22%, or something like that. If you want to choose a different amount, then you'll have to select the option and type in the amount. They pressure you into tipping at least 18%. I think this is crazy. I think 50% is perfectly fair, and we shouldn't feel bullied into giving more. But seems like most of the country is happy to throw over 18% no matter how the service was, and so 18% has become the new norm. In other countries, most people do not tip 80%. In Mexico, for instance, tipping 10% is normal, and in some countries, tipping at restaurants isn't even a big thing. But in the US, if you choose not to leave a tip, the waiter will come out to you and ask you what the matter is. It's simply unacceptable and not to leave a tip, even if the service would be below average. It might not be a law, but it sure feels like one. Aside from restaurants, it's also common for Americans to leave tips for other services. If you get your haircut, you better leave a tip for the barber. When I get my haircut in Mexico, I always leave a tip, and the barber looks really grateful because it's not customary for most Mexicans. How about you? Do you tip your barber? Another person you need to tip is the bellhop or the hotel porter. This is the guy that helps you with your luggage when you're checking in and out of a hotel. And one other hotel worker that Americans tip is the maid. Some non-Americans might be surprised to hear this, but it's true. Some Americans have usually tip for the housekeeper at the end of the stay of the hotel. We put money on the corner of of the table in a hotel room before we check out. As you can see, Americans tip like crazy. Some people really like this type of culture and think it's great that these workers receive big tips. Other people think that there are some inconsistencies when it comes to tipping in the US. Like, for example, if we tip waiters at restaurants, why shouldn't we tip the cashier at McDonald's? Regardless of how you feel about tipping, one thing's for sure. If you travel into the US, you're going to have to factor tips in your travel budget. Okay, now I'm going to ask you 3 questions about today's video to check your comprehension. Write your answers in the comment down below. 1. What's another word we can use for tip? What's one of type of workers beside waiters that Americans leave tip for? Where do we leave the money when tip made at hotels? Alright, before we go, remember to subscribe to the channel, click on the bell, and follow us on Instagram for more English tips and lessons. I'll see you next time.